And for communication, because aside from our group meeting here, we can use communication media channels for more efficient communication among groups, and to keep us updated, and to have some data set from initiative to be shared with the region. For example, this morning I have heard about the solar nova from our Singaporean college, which is very innovative, and we can share amongst the group. And so some of the topics that we can focus on is we can have strategies and joint advocacy work on coal finance or coal power technology, which is dominant in Southeast Asia, and also how to engage with business financiers to accelerate the energy transition in the region, and also dealing with the export of coal mining from Indonesia, or the transparency of investment and finance. And also that the most common words I heard today is about rooftop solar energy and also energy efficiency. So that I think that despite the different in terms of the context, we have the mutual topics that we can collaborate on. Is how we can best deploy rooftop solar in order to meet the increasing demand of energy in the next decade. And also within the carbon-free energy network, we see that the regional exchange will increase the effectiveness of both national efforts, as well as to strengthen the international fossil-free and decarbonization movement in the region. Because each country cannot work alone, but we need to stand together, not only at regional level, but also at some international platforms like Conference of Parties by UNFCCC or Climate Vulnerable Forum. Because I know that a lot of Southeast Asian countries are one of the most vulnerable countries impacted by climate change. So that I see the importance that we stand together to slow down the coal power development in Southeast Asia, and also to reduce the use of coal for energy. And also we should come to accelerate the energy efficiency as well as renewable energy deployment in the region. Some of the proposed activity is to increase the regional coordination and joint activities in accelerating the energy transition, share findings and lessons learned and use them in a structured way, and also support the ongoing network following a bottom-up approach. Because we see that we are not only staying, but we also come up with the solutions on the alternative solution that we can use to advocate. And the approach is to accelerate the existing regional exchange of like-minded CSO and think tanks, and also the structure of the different national effort and strength within the network, and also support the national campaign towards renewable energy with regional studies. And for example, like in Vietnam, we have the annual Vietnam Renewable Energy Week, which is convened by CSO, Vietnam Sustainable Energy Alliance. We use this platform to discuss on, to gather multi-stakeholders together and to discuss on barriers of how we can accelerate the energy transition in Vietnam, so that the initiative that we can share with other countries in the region, and maybe we can come up with a regional forum like this. And coming today, I also want to share with you one of our initiatives on a million green homes. And so we are very happy to discuss with you further on how we can scale it up within the region. Access solar rooftop energy is repeatedly discussed within today's. So our goal of 1,000,000 green homes is to have at least 1,000,000 houses and buildings in Vietnam with solar PV rooftop system, with the wide use of energy efficiency and other green solutions, benefiting to lower as well as higher income household and also small and medium enterprise. Because we see that we cannot depend on the government, but we can come up with a solution from the grassroots, from the household level, that one can be using the approach of public and people efforts in order to have the energy access for all and leave no one behind. And the objective is to communicate and campaign on multiple benefits of rooftop solar in Vietnam, as well as other green solutions. And also we want to raise external financial support, as well as to have subsidized schemes for solar PV in Vietnam. And also we can come up with some pilot projects to prove that it has multiple benefits and demonstrate the financial and social and environmental advantages of the solar PV. Yes, I'm about to finish. So that initiative that we initiated last year and have the opportunity to share with some of the college in the region. And I see that some of the college here, for example, Philippines, also have the similar program in your countries. So I think that within our group meeting, we can have a further discussion on this. So I have listed some of the upcoming events in 2019 here for the Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation, which will happen in the next few days in Beijing. ASEAN People Forum in Bangkok in June. The annual Asia Clean Energy Forum in Manila, as well as the Vietnam Renewable Energy Week. So there's a lot of upcoming events that we discuss on how we can discuss the way forward. So thank you so much. So that is my presentation today.
Thank you, Ms. Du Minh Tham. You are also within the time limit. Very good. And so now we can see different speakers. The three speakers all emphasize the importance of regional cooperation in developing renewable energy. And they also have brought up different methods or suggestions in that regard. So now the floor is open to the audience. Okay, thank you.
It's a real question. I just want to make a small remark regarding the mechanism for rooftop PV. So recently, Vietnam has piloting the direct our purchase agreement, where people can buy directly or purchase directly. If they install PV rooftop, they can sign the direct PPA with EVN for selling their surplus electricity.
So actually, it's not a direct PPA, but it's just the term is PPA. So
Actually, there is a direct PPA. It is piloting the energy, the electricity regulatory, the ERAP, will pilot this year.
Okay, and also to share with you in the draft, decision supporting mechanism for solar PV in Vietnam. There's also an article regulated that for rooftop PV they can sell directly to the grid. It's not only for EVN, but they are proposing for direct PPA between generator as well as consumer.
Okay, yes, please, thank you.
Hello. Hi everyone, I'm Han from VIE. So my colleagues has shared with you a lot of information about operation opportunity. And for me, actually, we reached our time, but since no one has raised time, so I would like to take the time to share some of my thoughts after listening to all of your sharing and information. So I can see that there are some comments among different speakers from different countries. There is one conclusion that I see, that is renewable energy in Southeast Asia is feasible in terms of, first, technical and economic aspects. So all of researchers here, we do not talk about coal prospect or development. We talk about opportunity of renewable energy cooperation in the region. So this is the first information of renewable energy is our future in the region. In terms of technical abundances in many countries, and in terms of research. Second, it is feasible in terms of economy, where we see our Vietnamese college and other colleges in other countries say that renewable energy is competitive to coal, to fossil fuel. And then it's feasible in terms of national energy security. In the Vietnam case, coal import is national energy security issue. And I do believe that for other countries it's also an issue. Next, renewable energy is feasible in terms of social acceptance. 5 years ago, when Green ID started our work on promoting renewable energy in Vietnam, public have no idea about what is solar energy, what is wind energy. But now we have evidence of how public think about coal, about renewable energy. If you have time to look at our recently published report, provincial governance and public administration performance index 2018, PAPI. This is the biggest survey research in Vietnam. And there is interesting key finding in this research is that citizens across 63 provinces in Vietnam wants to develop renewable energy. Coal is not their choice, and they are willing to pay more money to develop renewable energy. And the reason is, there are two main reasons. One is power supply, and second is air pollution. And between these two reasons, and another reason is climate change. For them, air pollution is the main reason to choose renewable energy. And
Sorry to interrupt you. Do you have any questions on the presenters?
Actually, I would like to
could you be brief? Yes.
It's not a question, it's just my sharing.
Okay. If you don't have questions, then I think I need to give the chance to others. Anyone who have questions? If not, then I will use my own advantage to ask you some of the questions. To the first speaker, Dr. Dong Liang. You see, the Chinese solar PV product, in fact, have a problem of surplus production. And this surplus production have also caused a lot of trade frictions with both the US and the EU because of the excise export of those solar PVs into the US and the EU. That has also caused a lot of tumbles in the local market. So I don't know if your suggestion that both China and ASEAN countries should cooperate in the renewable sector. Is there any complaints in that regard? That is there any Southeast Asian countries which is complaining that China exports too much and also have some repercussions on their local market? And second question to Professor Lassit. And you see from your slides, you mentioned that natural gas in Malaysia will decline from the original 52% in 2010 and then to 40% in 2015 and further decline to only 29% in 2020. Why that happened? And also you see Malaysia is set to be transformed from an oil exporter into an oil importer because of the surging demand within the country. So I don't know what measures will Malaysia take to handle this new situation. And also you see you have incorporated regulatory framework and governance into the concept of energy security. So in the minds of the Malaysian government, do you think that liberalization the energy market is equal to energy security? And last question to Ms. Du Min Tan, sorry. You, of course, appreciate your suggestions, and also you have highlighted the status quo of cooperation between China and ASEAN. I just want to ask you, how do these countries counter the problem of political suspicion in their cooperation process? Okay, thank you. Maybe each of you can use maybe 2 minutes at most. Let's start from Dong Liang.
I'm not an expert in that field about the competition between the presses, the technological competition. But I want to share some of the things that I think for some major countries like United States, Japan, India, and Australia, they all want to collaborate with ASEAN countries in renewable energy industries. So there is a lot of competition in agenda setting, in mechanisms, in all kinds of stuff. It's not all about the technology and the prices, the costs in the solar panels, in that kind of stuff. And so I think for China, maybe we should provide more enterprise dominating mechanisms, for ASEAN countries. In that, that means, the Chinese government maybe have less pressure, to pursue, competitions with the United States and other major powers in these industries.
Your turn.
Thank you for your questions, Dr. Chang. Can I repeat the question in case I forget? You asking me the declining in the gas in the Malaysian energy mix for the power sector.
Yes.
Power sector. So in Malaysia, we divide the distributions of the Petronas output into two. One is the power, the other is non-power. In the power, it reduce. That means the others maybe increase. Because my paper was on the development and conservation of ASEAN regional economic growth. We talk about economic growth for the Malaysia, not the energy. Okay, so that's the answer I got. Okay, then the other one, conservation. Conservation, so I was losing time to explain earlier. We're talking about the economic development. Conservation here referring not only to the conserve energy, but also conserve the livelihood of the people. I've been working with the original people of the country for many years, since early 1997, 98 or so, until today. Normally when developed area, now I'm talking about the development of Spine, Malaysia Spine, the central part, mostly lived by the original people there. I have seen a few places, at least this is I think the third or fourth time, we bring development, we bring biomass plant, we give them electricity, we give them better houses to us, but to them can be uninhabitable house. So there's another consideration that we were looking, that I'm looking. I have my friends also working in some other part of ASEAN. So this is very possible to be when we develop region. It takes time for people to adjust their lifestyle. Otherwise they will run away from the place. And we see the houses will become empty. Probably you have seen. I have seen a few places in ASEAN, but I don't mention it here. Okay.
There was a question of liberalization.
You said regulatory framework and governance as part of energy security. What do you mean? Can you elaborate on that?
Malaysia is looking at two things for the past few years. Now Malaysia has put some target in 2020 next year. Malaysia expect to have a liberalized gas market. We have third-party access. Individual or company can participate in shipping, in retailing, in regasifications. Okay, there were 6 or 7 licenses given. Okay, then in 2025, Malaysia expect to have liberalized electricity market 2025. So that's what my study was about that I mentioned to you earlier. Now, how does it relate to security? It doesn't relate exactly, but when we doing this liberalization, we must have put controls and measures and indicators whether they are jeopardizing the energy mix with the economic growth. Because if we allow the market to take direction on itself without control, we might end up with some of the countries that we have seen. For example, like gas, Iran go halfway, then they stop. So Malaysia, we can discuss what is if you wanted.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Last 2 minutes.
Yes. So I'd like to answer your question on how we can overcome political suspicion of the ASEAN and China cooperation. To my knowledge, I would share about the case study in Vietnam. For example, in solar energy sector, most of the main contractor as well as equipment are from China. So I see that China is a big player in the energy sector because with the fast developed technology as well as competitive price, I think that in Vietnam that most of the exhibition or forum have all the big names from China like LONGi or Trina Solar. And I think that to deal with this, for Vietnam, we have a very clear national standards, regulations on for the standards for the equipment, as well as the clear procedures of the project, clear procedure for project implementation. So that is how we can somehow to deal with the servicing. And also some of the manufacturing factories are in Vietnam, but we are just the player in terms of manufacturing. So the technology as well as the main managers are from China. So, but for Vietnam, we required for the technology transfer in order to build capacity for the local workers as well as to build up for the technology transfer between the original country as well as in Vietnam.
So now, because of time, we will end this session. Thank you very much for the wonderful presentations by the three panelists. So let's applause again and give our reward. So, thank you very much. So now pass the floor to To Min Tung.
Yes. I'd like to say thank you, Associate Professor Chen, for introducing me. Yeah, actually, I'm not going to sum up or wrap up anything because today we've been working very hard. We've listened to 12 presentations and a lot of the information. I'm the new learner in this subject, and probably I just want to share with you what I have learned today. I think for me, three takeaways that I have is that firstly, I learned that the regional energy market is changing very fast, both from the demand side and from the supply side. And I think especially from the supply side, with the new technology that has enabled renewable energy more accessible and more affordable. And the opportunity for us, for ASEAN country and for China to move forward to more sustainable source of energy is very real now. And in some cases, for example, in the case of Vietnam, that Dr. Tuan had explained to us that it is moving faster than we expected. And the second thing I've learned is that I think it's now really a good time for us to rethink about our national energy strategy because of the changing environment. So it is very important that we reviewed the national energy strategy, and in the case of Vietnam, in the case of Thailand, and I think some other country we share today, ASEAN member countries are now reviewing their strategies. And we also learned that now it is a time to look more closely at the regional cooperation framework. There are now a number of existing mechanisms, but the opportunities for extending the existing mechanism and expanding more initiative for regional cooperation is still much available. And that needs our work from the think tanks, from the energy experts around the table here today to give more recommendations. So I would like to take this opportunity to urge all of you to help us. If when you come home, you can update your papers and provide more suggestions, more recommendations on how we can work together within the framework of ASEAN and within the ASEAN and China framework. So to help each of our national country and also help the region to build a more sustainable energy development. And last but not least, I really appreciate your presence here today. And once again, I would like to thank all the speakers today for your very valuable insight and recommendations. And I would like to thank all the moderators for your time and effort to help us to maintain very good timing and inspire all the speakers and all the audience. And lastly, I would like to express my gratitude to Associate Professor Yang Yu and Dr. Li Fujiang from the China Foreign Affairs Universities for your cooperations with us in hosting these meetings. And also, I also want to thank my colleague from the Diplomatic Academy of Vietnam who has been working beside the scene to arrange the meetings. And that would end the sessions, the meetings today.
And once again, thank you very much. Yeah. And I want to have a housekeeping announcement that we would like to invite all the speakers, all the participants to have dinners with us today.